My wife's work phone was actually for a life I wasn't invited to. I'm a 32-year-old man, and I've been married to my wife, Sarah, who is 31, for 7 years. We've been together for 10. I always thought we were that couple people were jealous of, the ones who still held hands at the grocery store and actually liked spending Friday nights just ordering Thai food and playing Mario Kart. But over the last 6 months, something shifted. It wasn't a sudden explosion, it was a slow leak. Sarah started staying late at her marketing firm, blaming a massive account she was trying to land. She'd come home looking exhausted, barely eating the dinner I'd kept warm for her, and she'd head straight to the shower. I'm not a jealous guy. I've never been the type to check phones or ask for locations. I trusted her implicitly. But then, I found the phone. It happened last Tuesday. Sarah was in the shower, and her gym bag was sitting open on the bedroom floor. I went to grab her dirty leggings to toss them in the wash, and I felt something hard at the bottom. It was a black iPhone. Sarah has a gold iPhone. We're on a family plan, and I pay the bill. I didn't recognize this one at all. I pulled it out, and my heart just dropped into my stomach. It didn't have a passcode. I swiped up, and the first thing I saw was a lock screen photo of Sarah, one I'd never seen before, wearing a piece of lingerie I'd definitely never seen before. I felt like I'd been punched in the throat. I opened the messages. There was only one contact name, Jay. The thread was miles long. It wasn't just work stuff. It was graphic. It was plans for business trips to Chicago that I now realize were just weekends away at a boutique hotel downtown. There were photos, videos, and names for things they did that made me want to throw up on our expensive rug. But the worst part wasn't the sex. It was the way she talked to him. She told this Jay person that I was suffocating her, that I was boring, and that she felt like she was playing house with a child. I'm 32. I have a career in architecture. I built our deck with my own goddamn hands. I thought I was a partner. To read her call me a burden while I was at home making sure her favorite wine was chilled for when she got back from her late meetings, it's a level of betrayal I can't even put into words. I didn't confront her right then. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. I went into the kitchen and sat in the dark for 3 hours. When she came out of the bathroom, smelling like the vanilla soap I bought her, she asked why I was sitting in the dark. I just said I had a headache. She kissed my forehead, a kiss that felt like a hot iron now, and went to bed. I don't know what to do. I have the phone's serial number. I took photos of some of the texts with my own phone. I know Jay is Julian, a creative director she mentioned a few times months ago. I'm sitting at my desk at work right now, staring at my CAD drawings, and all I can see is that lingerie photo. I feel like my entire life is a lie. I'm going to confront her tonight. I just need to figure out how not to scream. Update 1. It's been 2 days since the confrontation, and I feel like I'm living in a fucking hall of mirrors. I waited for her to get home. I even made dinner, steak, her favorite, because I'm some kind of masochistic idiot who wanted to see if she'd actually sit there and lie to my face while eating a meal I paid for and cooked. She was late again. She walked in at 8:30 p.m., all smiles, talking about a breakthrough with a client. I let her talk for 10 minutes. I just watched her mouth move and wondered how many times that mouth had lied to me today. Finally, I just sat the black iPhone on the table next to her wine glass. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she was going to faint. For a second, I felt a spark of satisfaction, but it was quickly replaced by this crushing weight in my chest. "Where did you find that?" she whispered. Not "I'm sorry." Not "it's not what it looks like." Just "where did you find that?" "In your bag, Sarah. While I was doing your fucking laundry," I said. My voice was shaking. I hated that I sounded so weak. "Who is Julian? How long has this been going on?" She didn't cry at first. She got defensive. She actually had the audacity to tell me I was violating her privacy by looking through her bag. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud because it was so goddamn absurd. I told her that privacy ends where a secret second phone and a 3-month affair begin. Then the gaslighting started. She told me Julian was just a friend and the texts were roleplay because she felt unseen in our marriage. She said she bought the second phone because she knew I'd overreact if I saw her talking to a male colleague. I told her to show me the phone right then and there. She refused. She said she'd already deleted everything because I'd tainted it. I showed her the photos I'd taken of the texts. The ones where she said she couldn't wait to leave me. The ones where she mocked my boring hobbies. That shut her up. She started sobbing then, the ugly, loud kind of crying. She dropped to her knees and grabbed my legs, telling me she didn't mean it, that it was a fantasy, and that she was scared of how much she loved Julian but she needed me. I pushed her off. I couldn't stand her touching me. I told her she had to leave. She looked shocked. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. I told her I didn't give a shit. Maybe Julian has a couch. She left with a small suitcase, crying that I was throwing away 10 years for a mistake. A mistake? A second phone isn't a mistake. Planning weekends in Chicago isn't a mistake. It's a goddamn lifestyle choice. I'm currently at my brother's place because I couldn't stay in that house alone. Every corner of it has her touch on it. I haven't slept. I keep checking my phone, hoping she'll send a text that actually explains why she did this, but all I get are "I love you" and "please let me come home" messages. My brother wants me to call a lawyer. I think he's right, but part of me is still waiting to wake up from this. Update 2. The fantasy Sarah mentioned? Yeah, it's a lot more real than she let on. After she left, I couldn't stop thinking about Julian. I needed to know who this guy was. It turns out, social media is a powerful thing when you're fueled by pure, unadulterated spite. I found his Instagram. He's married. His wife, Melissa, looks like a sweetheart. They have a 2-year-old daughter. I spent all night debating whether to message her. People on some forums say stay out of it, but if I were her, I'd want to know. My brother told me to wait until I had my ducks in a row with a lawyer, so I did. I met with a guy named Marcus today. He's a shark. He looked at the screenshots I took and just nodded. He told me that in our state, it doesn't really matter for the division of assets, but it helps with the narrative if we go to mediation. But then Marcus asked me something that hadn't even crossed my mind. Did she have access to your joint savings? I checked. Sarah has been skimming. Small amounts, $200 here, $500 there, over the last 6 months. She's moved about $8,000 into an account I didn't know existed. I thought we were saving for a down payment on a larger house because we'd talked about starting a family next year. It turns out she was funding her escape, or maybe just her hotels with Julian. That was the breaking point. The sex was one thing, the betrayal of the body, but the systematic theft of our future? That's cold. I messaged Melissa. I sent her 3 screenshots. One of them was Julian telling Sarah he was going to tell Melissa he was on a scouting trip so they could spend 3 days in a cabin in Wisconsin. Melissa called me 10 minutes later. She was hysterical. It turns out Julian was at work while we were talking. She told me he'd been acting strange, but she thought it was just the stress of the new baby. We talked for an hour. It was the most surreal conversation of my life. 2 strangers bonded by the fact that the people we trusted most were fucking each other behind our backs. She told me something that made my blood run cold. Julian told her he was thinking about investing in a new marketing startup. Sarah had told me the same thing. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning to start a business together using our money. My money. Melissa's family's money. When I got off the phone, I had 20 missed calls from Sarah. Julian must have called her the second Melissa confronted him. Sarah's text changed from "I love you" to "You're a piece of shit for involving his family and you've ruined everything." Ruined everything? I didn't do shit. I just turned on the lights. If you don't want people to see you're a thief and a liar, maybe don't be a thief and a liar. I'm moving back into the house tomorrow. My lawyer said I shouldn't vacate the primary residence. I told Sarah she's not allowed back in. She said she's calling the police because her name is on the deed. I told her to go ahead. Let's see how the cops feel about the hidden phone and the embezzled savings. I know, the cops won't care about that, but it felt good to say. I feel dead inside, but at least the fog is clearing. Update 3. Things have gone from bad to what the actual fuck. Sarah showed up at the house yesterday with her mother. Her mom, Diane, has always been a bit of a pill, but she reached a new level of delusion. They didn't even wait for me to open the door, Sarah used her key. I was in the kitchen, and they just marched in like they owned the place. "Mark, we need to talk like adults," Diane said. Like she was the principal and I was a kid who'd skipped class. I didn't even look at Sarah. I looked at Diane and said, "She's an adulterer and a thief. There's nothing to talk about. Get out of my house." Sarah started screaming that it wasn't my house, it was our house. She was wearing this oversized sweatshirt and no makeup, looking like she hadn't slept in a week. Part of me felt a twinge of pity, but then I remembered the text where she called me boring and a burden. That pity died real quick. She admitted to the money. She said she was scared that I'd leave her if I ever found out about Julian, so she wanted a safety net. Think about that logic for a second. She cheated, so she stole money from me in case I found out she cheated. It's sociopathic. Then she dropped the bomb. She's pregnant. I felt the air leave the room. Everything went white for a second. We'd been trying for a year. A year of calendars and vitamins, and it'll happen when it happens. And now, in the middle of this radioactive disaster, she says she's pregnant. Is it mine? I asked. My voice sounded like it was coming from a mile away. Sarah hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. I don't know, she whispered. Diane stepped in then, saying it didn't matter, that we had to work through this for the sake of the baby and that families face challenges. I told Diane to shut her goddamn mouth. I told Sarah that if that baby is Julian's, I'm going to make sure she never gets a cent of alimony and I'm going to sue her for every penny she took from our savings. She started hyperventilating. She said Julian won't talk to her. Apparently, Melissa kicked him out and froze their accounts, and Julian blamed Sarah for blowing up his life. He told Sarah he didn't want anything to do with her or a bastard baby. So now Sarah is realizing that her fantasy man is a coward who only wanted her when it was easy and secret. She's realized that the boring husband was the only thing keeping her life from falling apart. I told them both to leave or I'd call the police. Sarah tried to hug me, crying that she made a mistake and that we could be a family. I pushed her away, not hard, but enough to make it clear. I told her the only thing we're going to be is a cautionary tale. They left, but the silence they left behind is worse than the screaming. I'm sitting here looking at the nursery we started painting 2 months ago. It's light blue. We thought it would be a boy. Now I don't even know if I'll ever want kids. I have a DNA test kit coming in the mail. We have to wait until she's far enough along for a prenatal test, or wait until it's born. My lawyer is having a field day. This is a mess. I'm a mess. I just want to go back to 6 months ago when I was boring and happy. Update 4. The hits just keep on coming. I've been staying in the guest room. Sarah moved back in because, legally, I can't keep her out without a restraining order, and my lawyer said a hostile environment could hurt me in the divorce. So we're roommates. It's hell. It's absolute fucking hell. She tries to cook for me. She leaves notes on the coffee pot. I ignore all of it. I've started eating all my meals at my desk or in my car. A few days ago, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Julian. The prick had the nerve to ask me to call off Melissa. He said Melissa is destroying his reputation and that if she doesn't stop, he'll lose his job and won't be able to pay for the potential kid. He actually called it a potential kid. I didn't reply. I sent the screenshot straight to Melissa. She told me Julian is staying at a Motel 6 and trying to get her to sign a post-nup. She's filing for divorce too. We've become this weird support group of 2. But then, last night, I found something else. I was looking through our shared computer for some tax documents. Marcus told me to gather everything, and I found a hidden folder in the cloud. It wasn't just Julian. There were folders. Dates. Names. This hasn't been 6 months. It's been years. There was a guy from her old job. A guy she met at a conference in 2021. Sarah wasn't just having an affair, she was a serial cheater. The boring life she had with me was just her home base while she went out and did whatever the fuck she wanted. I confronted her again. I didn't even scream this time. I was just done. I showed her the folder names. She didn't even try to deny it, she just sat there on the edge of the bed and looked at me with these dead eyes. I just needed to feel alive, Mark. You're so stable. You're so safe. I felt like I was suffocating in safe. Safe? I spat. I gave you a life. I gave you a home. I gave you everything I had. And you used it as a fucking safety net while you went out and played with other men? I always came back to you, she said. Like that was supposed to make it better. Like I should be grateful she chose to sleep in my bed after being with someone else. I'm done. I'm so fucking done. I told her I'm filing for an annulment based on fraud, though Marcus says it's a long shot and will probably just stick to divorce. I don't care about the baby anymore. If it's mine, I'll be a father because that's who I am, but I will never, ever be her husband again. If it's Julian's, they can both rot. I'm currently packing a bag. I'm going to stay with my parents for a while. I can't be in the same house as her anymore. The air feels heavy. Every time she breathes, I feel like I'm losing my mind. The worst part? As I was walking out the door, she asked me if I still loved her. I looked her right in the eyes and said, I love the woman I thought you were. But she never existed. You're just a stranger who's been living in my house. She started crying, but I didn't look back. I'm driving to my parents' place now. It's a 3-hour drive. I have a lot of time to think. About the money, the house, the potential kid, and how the hell I'm supposed to ever trust another human being again. I'm 32 years old, and I'm starting over from scratch. Everything I built is gone. But as I'm driving, for the first time in a week, I can actually breathe. The safe guy is gone. I don't know who I am anymore, but I know I'm not her victim. Not anymore. Update 5. The DNA results came back yesterday. I'm not the father. I've spent the last few weeks in a daze, just existing, waiting for that email from the lab. When it finally arrived, I didn't even feel the relief I expected. I just felt empty. 10 years of my life, a year of trying for a child, all to find out that the only thing she ever grew inside her was another lie. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I sent the PDF to my lawyer and told him to send it to her and her mother. 10 minutes later, my phone started blowing up with calls from Diane. I blocked her. Then Sarah started calling from a new number. Blocked. Marcus managed to track down the $8,000. It turns out she'd already spent half of it on a retainer for her own lawyer and, get this, a deposit on a new apartment she was planning to move into with Julian before he ghosted her. Since it was joint money, I'm probably not getting it back in cash, but Marcus is making sure it's deducted from her share of the home equity. We're selling the house. I can't live there, and she can't afford it. Watching the for sale sign go up on the lawn I used to mow every Saturday morning felt like a funeral. The serial cheating info was the nail in the coffin. Once I started digging, I found out she'd even had a thing with one of my old college friends back in 2019. I called him. He didn't even apologize, he just said, "Man, Sarah was always like that. I thought you knew." I thought I knew. I thought I knew the woman I slept next to for 7 goddamn years. Julian's life is apparently a smoking crater. Melissa messaged me to say she's taking the house, the kid, and a huge chunk of his retirement. He lost his job at the firm because he was using the company credit card to fund his scouting trips with Sarah. Karma's a bitch, but it's a slow-working one. Sarah is staying with her parents now. She sent me one final email, the only way she can reach me, saying she's heartbroken and that she's going to raise the baby alone and name it after me if I forgive her. I didn't even finish reading it before I deleted it. The audacity of this woman is truly a marvel. I'm sitting in my parents' guest room right now, surrounded by boxes of my old high school gear. I'm 32, I'm getting a divorce, and I have no idea where I'm going to be in 6 months. But tonight, I'm going to go out, get a shitty burger, and maybe watch a movie that isn't a wee movie. I'm not happy. I'm nowhere near happy. I'm angry and I'm hurt and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need years of therapy to not suspect every woman I meet is hiding a black iPhone in her gym bag. But for the first time in a decade, I'm not being lied to. And I guess that's a start.